Well, thank you for joining us today on Real Estate Today. I brought a special guest in that you're very, very much going to enjoy. She, by profession, is an event planner, but she's way more diverse than that. And she is the managing director event planner of the Glass Factory, a very special event that we'll be sharing with you, our event space here in Jacksonville, Florida. Lauryn, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I am delighted to have you. You know, it's always important to me to understand who I'm with so that I can better project why we're together. And I've got a curious question for you, and that is, how does a person with a degree in public relations, marketing, and communication end up as a marketing director for Quality Boats? That fascinates me.
It's actually a funny story. I graduated college and just moved back to my hometown, sort of on the cusp of wanting to find out where I was going to go next. And I ran into someone I used to babysit for when I was a teenager at a yoga class, and it happened to be the wife of the owner of Quality Boats. We got to talking, and she said, I think my husband's looking for someone who does that or has experience in that area. Why don't you come in and interview? And I had the job.
Is there a history and passion for boating, or was it more the media and marketing skills that attracted them to you?
I think it was both. He really liked the fact that I was born and raised in the area. They are a family-owned dealership, and sort of the basis of our marketing plan is that family-owned platform. So having someone that already had those connections in the community was really important. But yes, I did grow up an avid boater. I was also a swimmer. I swam in college, so water was always something I was really passionate about. So I did have those connections on a personal level.
I like that, and it went well. And then you find yourself in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, welcome. We're glad that you're here. With the Glass Factory. Now, for folks who are not yet familiar with the Glass Factory, what is the Glass Factory?
The Glass Factory is a beautiful industrial venue here in Jacksonville. It was actually built in 1936. It is a Clutho building. I am still learning a lot of the history about this great city, but I do know that Clutho was the architect that aided in rebuilding a lot of Jacksonville after the fire. The building itself was actually originally commissioned by PPG, Pittsburgh Plate and Glass. The name is a little misleading. It was actually a glass storage facility originally, but that doesn't have quite the ring to it as Glass Factory does. So if you go into the venue and you look up at the ceiling, there's these systems of pulleys and cranes, and so they would pick up these plates of glass, and there's a door, and this train would pull up to the door, and it would load into the train, and they would go out anywhere in the world where they were headed. Over the years, it's been many different things, but it is now currently an event venue and has been since, I believe, 2016. It is one of, if not the largest venue of its kind here in Jacksonville. We can do up to 900 cocktail style, 500 seated, so that capacity does make us really unique. We are a very blank canvas, which people love. You're not required to work with anyone. We just ask that they be licensed and insured, so you kind of get to build your own venue experience, which seems to be really popular with brides specifically.
I'm going to go back to the building. I've been in the building for multiple events. I love the building. We've got nearly 16,000 feet of blank canvas, to your point, of open space, and a chic industrial look to it with the exposed brick or terracotta all around the walls, the sturdiness of the big wooden beams. Yet you've managed to cause it to feel intimate through lighting. How were you involved in the lighting, and how has that impacted the ability to use the space?
So I was very fortunate. When I came on board, it was after the sale of the venue. So the previous owners did do all of the lighting, but I very quickly realized why they made the decisions they did. It is a soft, warm glow, and the lighting is very spread out because they want the venue to kind of take on a life of its own. So it has that beautiful ambiance no matter the time of the day that you're in there. And also being so close to the downtown area, even after dark, you do get a lot of really beautiful ambient light coming in through the windows, so much so that you can actually see the blue window panes in some of the glass that are actually original to the building.
What are some of the challenges you face in an 80-year-old industrial facility, yet you need modern amenities, the restroom facilities, kitchen and whatnot? How have you addressed those?
Well, we've made a few minor upgrades. Like I said, I was very fortunate to come in after the previous owners had done quite a bit to the venue, aesthetically, I would say. We have renovated the backroom areas. We do have a full bridal suite and groom's lounge. We've just made them a lot softer, a lot prettier, a lot more comfortable, and it does sort of lend itself to the industrial style, but it is a contrast in that there are the soft surfaces back there for guests to sort of relax and enjoy their time while they're behind the scenes getting ready. Many of the upgrades that were made, like I said, were the previous owners, but we do have a full-size catering bay. We have 2 full-size restrooms in the front of the building. There are now 40 tons of air conditioning hanging from the ceiling, and we actually installed a large fan. It's a 16-foot ceiling fan, so that all aids in the climate control process.
It's comfortable. I've been in it multiple times for all sorts of venues. I'll give you an idea of the kind of things I've attended at the Glass Factory. I've been there for the rethreaded gala. It's essentially a formal gala for, what is that, 400 to 600, I guess? It's quite
yeah, it's
large.
About 500. They max out our seated capacity every year. 500,
and comfortably,
yes,
quite frankly,
very comfortably.
I've been there for an Argentinian barbecue where Chef Tom Gray barbecued a goat in the parking lot. They splayed it out and then served that to, I don't know, that was probably a couple of hundred of us. That was interesting. And I've also been to craft fairs in there. So the diversity by which you can use that big open space has been really interesting. I've also watched how you can flex the space to suit the size of the crowd. When you're looking at 15,000, 16,000 feet, it's fairly simple to feel like you're in too big of a space, but you've managed to accommodate that, so even with smaller groups, it still feels correctly intimate. Talk to me about the challenges you've faced and how you've conquered them from 2 perspectives. The question is COVID, the things that's brought to us. One is in compliance with the social distancing, and then the other is causing the people to feel comfortable. Those are 2 separate things, because we can be safely compliant yet not brought comfort, and we can be comfortable yet not compliant. How have you balanced those?
So, to the best of my knowledge, and I say that because we were not given CDC guidelines. No one said, hey, Glass Factory, here are the exact things that you need to follow and the things you can and can't do. So it's been sort of just doing my due diligence, doing my research, and making a judgment call on a way that I can protect all of my guests for the events that are there. So to my understanding, for a private event, it is up to the event host. If they want to socially distance their tables, we will help them with that. If they want me to shut off every other bathroom stall, shut off every other sink, we will do that for them. My staff that is on site will always be wearing a mask as long as it is required here in Jacksonville. We do also go around and we spritz with disinfectant, just heavily touch surfaces, doorknobs. I ask them to do that every hour or so, especially during the event, during the ceremony time, things like that. And I also did add a clause to our contract that makes people feel safer when they book with us. When this all started, and I don't want to speak ill of other venues because it was very difficult at first to know what to do. This is uncharted territory for venue managers.
And it's evolving. Where it was 6 months ago isn't where it is today,
right.
and we'll look at another flavor of different in 6 more months.
Absolutely. So I did add a clause to my contract that will release these deposits if there is another government-mandated shutdown. If someone says to us, some governing body says, I cannot legally operate that venue on the day of your event, your gala, your wedding, your market, I will work with you on either rescheduling or I will give you your deposit back. I know that's not universal for all venues. Just on a personal note, I felt like that was the right thing to do. So I do make sure that people know that they have that sort of safety net when they book with us. But the other benefit to booking at the Glass Factory is we do have 16,000 square feet. If you needed to socially distance, you can do it easily. If you needed to have high-risk designated areas, you can do that easily. We have separate bathrooms we can separate for just high risk. It's really dependent on the event and the host, and I think what's going on at that time of the event. So that's why it's hard to plan.
Having been in the facility with the ramps there at one end, I believe you could have 100 cars and park them in there, and everybody could stay in their own car inside the facility.
Yes.
I'll share a story with you about the challenges of event planning and COVID compliant and COVID comfortable. And I separate compliant from comfortable.
Right.
It's different. I attend a lot of conferences around the country, sometimes as an attendee, often as a presenter. There is a particular conference we've done 7 years in a row in Vegas in the same hotel. That hotel shut down for COVID, and it has never reopened. The event planner then contracted with another hotel. In both cases, their names you would know, but we're not going to do that. With another very significant hotel in Vegas, and they said, we'll take you. And we typically would have 400 people. Not big by a Vegas-style convention, but it's 400 people. And about 3 weeks before the event, they said, and by the way, the people, we can have no more than 25 of your attendees in any one space at any one time, and that they would connect us all via video. Well, if we're doing it by video, there was no reason to proceed. The solution was the company who was putting this event on is based essentially in Indianapolis, just outside of Indianapolis. They rented an entire hotel. And what that gave us the ability to do, and it's much like the ability you have at the glass factory, by controlling the entire hotel, we could be absolutely compliant with the existing rules in the state of Indiana, and we could also be absolutely compliant with the particular rules of the venue, and create a comfort place that the only people in the space were our own folks who were comfortable and compliant. So I think you've got much that same ability because the venue is so large, yet flexibly large, where you can be compliant, and all you need to do, and I know you do this, you're listening to the concerns of the host, and then you adapt and move forward.
Absolutely. That's the only thing I've been able to do thus far is just to kind of keep an eye on what's going on in the world with COVID at that time, and then just work as closely as I can with the renters for the venue to make sure that they're comfortable and confident that their event is going to be safe and comfortable. I think that's really the important part.
Yeah, and comfort means a lot. Take me back to Clouthier, or I would like to go back to Clouthier with you. He is the quintessential Jacksonville architect over the last 100 years, both in his home was here, which I've had the good pleasure to have been in multiple times, the Clouthier Apartments downtown. His signature, his thumbprint is on buildings all over town, and then his various students and disciples likewise at the Prairie Style and derivatives of Frank Lloyd Wright and all those other good things. How have you been respectful to the provenance of that being a frankly quite rare Clouthier industrial facility, yet brought in and respected those elements in the way that you've done the other spaces that you've modified? You mentioned the rooms for the bride and whatnot. What have you done there design-wise to each enhance the other rather than be in conflict?
So I actually worked with a wonderful interior designer out of Atlanta. Her name is Marcy Rafata, and she had the experience of actually having been in a wedding and event at the Glass Factory. So she got to experience that building in its true element, filled with people, decorated, people just enjoying the architecture. The wedding she was in did really pay homage to the Clouthier building in that she didn't bring a lot of decor in. She was happy with the aesthetic the way it was. So she really just took that style and softened it and created a sort of living space. It almost mimics a living room that just complements his style. Unfortunately, I know the building has been many things over the years, so I don't know exactly what it looked like right when it was finished, but to my knowledge, a lot of it has been untouched because everything it's been has been industrial. So there's been no need to make any changes. And I've tried to do the same. The only thing that I've done is added comfort. I've added the air conditioning. I've added the fan, but I was very cautious with those upgrades to make sure that they did not affect the aesthetic in any way, because that's what people love about the Glass Factory. Even before they know the rich history, they fall in love with that look. So I have no plans to touch it or change it.
So when you're in conversation with a potential host who's doing an event there, give me a feel for, are they gravitating to the space or versus gravitating to the history and the Clouthier and the provenance and that? Do you understand where I'm going with that?
So the only tour that I've given that actually did know the history was a school teacher. So she had an understanding of Clouthier and sort of an appreciation for it. But I do start every one of my tours off with that information. I just think it kind of opens your eyes a little bit to the build and to the aesthetic, especially when sometimes the parents of the younger brides will come in, they'll kind of walk in and they're like, this is what you want, okay? And they have trouble seeing it, but when you explain to them the history behind it, all of a sudden it takes on a new light.
Yeah.
So I think mainly that people do come in for the aesthetic of the space, that industrial backdrop for your event, whatever type of event it may be. The larger corporate clients, I think, do come in for the square footage also,
right,
because we can offer that space, and it's something different, than your prime Osborne experience. It's something a little more niche, a little more stylish.
Well, you have 3 leads into the space in my mind. And again, having been in the space multiple times and really enjoying the space, you have 3. One is the size and scope of the open space. There's very few that come near to that. The second is those attracted to that industrial feel, historic industrial feel. And the third is the true provenance of being a Clouthier building. And when you look at the number of historic neighborhoods around Jacksonville and how they've just been so strongly revitalized, both Springfield basically being adjacent to the glass factory, but San Marco and Ortega, Riverside, Murray Hill, we get in all these niche neighborhoods that Clouthier was centered to that. And every single person I know, and as I've shared with you, we've been in 40,000 homes and buildings around Jacksonville in our inspection role. A person who has a Clouthier home raves that they have a Clouthier home. It's a badge of honor. It's my belief that leading with the historical provenance of that building, the significance of Clouthier is no one can compete with that. There are other spaces that size. There are, though more limited, industrial facilities. There are none with that triple crown of provenance. It's a Clouthier industrial facility, essentially untouched other than comfort, to really enjoy the event in.
Absolutely. And I think once I share that information, if they didn't already know, there is a great deal of appreciation and interest in that part of the story. I think people also really enjoy the fact that they get to take that unique Clouthier building, that space, and make it their own with what they bring in for decor and their layout and their style. From events, even from corporate events all the way down to weddings, people don't want to do the same thing over and over again. They're tired of the hotel ballrooms. They're tired of these things. They don't want to do what that person posted on social media the day before that they saw in a wedding. They want to have something that's unique to them, and we can provide that experience hand in hand with that really unique Jacksonville history.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So how diverse of events have you done to this point?
Well, unfortunately, I did come on board in January, so I only had a couple months before COVID hit. So predominantly weddings, but I did get to experience one market for makers, which is the craft market that comes through. I actually had a bridal expo come through, which was wonderful because we are also a wedding venue, so to be able to have a booth inside my own venue during that expo was unique. I had a couple corporate parties. They were more customer appreciation style, and then just a handful of weddings.
Nice. Very nice. You know, whether it's old boats, old cars, or frankly, even old people, the maintenance requirements and the number of surprises that come up unexpectedly seem to never end. Yes? How are you managing? Do you have a team of go-to contractors that you know, like, and trust that when, there's something going on?
Yes, I am building my list. So I have the benefit of having Tyler Salduti. He is the owner of the building. He owns a very successful company called Prime Realty. So he has in his back pocket the names and business cards of all of these different people. So I typically start there, but I also I call around and I just kind of see, maybe who specializes in the older style building. I do seek that out. I don't want someone to come in that's going to fix something that's going to just stick out because it's shiny and new. I want the effort to be made to preserve the building and the aesthetic.
And that's a challenge, both on the residential side and the commercial or industrial side, is to be able to have that list of trusted contractors who understand or are respectful of the history so that the repair is more than functional. The repair is invisible, is really the goal.
Yes.
Is, okay, this leaked and now it doesn't. We've got that solved and that's all good. yet it doesn't stand out as the ugly Band-Aid.
Absolutely. Even from the start, even when I was still very much learning the job and the venue, I was always present at these meetings with Tyler because I wanted to be there to make sure that nothing was going to be done that was going to interfere with the historical aesthetic of the building. And that was really important to me. So I was just kind of in the background, like, nope, you can't put that there. Nope, you can't do that.
Has the building been designated on any of the historic registers or no?
I don't know. That's something I definitely need to research more. The information that I have was passed to me by the previous owner. She had this great sort of pamphlet she had put together of all the history she had dug up about the glass factory.
I'll make the presumption then it's no, because typically when they are,
Right.
there's an awareness, which has its own
Right.
special challenges. The designation is certainly a badge of honor. It's important, but it also has some restrictions and limitations. And I was going to ask you how you're dealing with those, but apparently
Right.
you don't need to.
Yeah, so
you
I
have
do think that'd be a
all the
double-edged sword.
pluses. That's right.
Right.
That's right. Well, I'm grateful that you've been with us. For people who would like to have that conversation with you about the space, either the history of the space, the use of the space, the best way for them to make contact is through the website with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I would go to the website and fill out the contact form. There's also an email on the website. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll find that there, so you can email me directly, but both do come directly to me.
Theglassfactory.com.
Theglassfactory.com.
Lauryn, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.